I'm invincible. I'm paying money. The girl's happy. She's got no money. I got my rocks off. Oh, how good is this?
Good morning all, and welcome to the only football show on SYN 90.7 FM in Melbourne. It is a beautiful Saturday morning. It's freezing outside, and we are all waking up to a pretty unexpected result from last night's football. We'll introduce ourselves. My name is Jordan, and I have got with me today
Ben Kazupi,
Ethan Meldrum,
Pralabh Gupta,
Damon Jackman.
And it is a fantastic morning to all of you here in the studio. Now, who watched last night? I didn't. I was watching Titanic, I'll admit that. But I did. I have covered all the issues, but yes, who was watching and how did it go?
I think lucky for the rest of us, I think we all watched it. It was a very tight, contested game of football. Carlton, in the end, surprising everyone, they brought the effort that they showed against Geelong and the West Coast Eagles in the last, few weeks. It's something that's always... Everyone knows Carlton are capable of things like this when they're on. Collingwood were just looked awful. They looked as if they had the game won before it had even started, and they played that way. Carlton had more second efforts around the contest. Collingwood, they just really didn't apply the sort of pressure. The forward press was practically useless last night.
Well, I think it's a reward for effort for Carlton. They've been playing with that sort of intensity, at least attempting to, for the last 5 or 6 weeks. They just haven't got the results on the board, and finally it's paid off with Dygan kicking 3 goals as a masterstroke, playing on Nick Maxwell.
That's testament to Ratz's coaching as well, isn't it?
Oh, he's safe.
He's a genius
no one's
now.
calling for him sacking now, but Collingwood, I think they struggled to get out of second gear last night. They just looked almost uninterested at points, but Carlton just really overwhelmed them with it. Intensity in their tackling especially was really impressive last night.
And it was a blessing in disguise that Hampson went off early. Didn't look very... looked pretty bleak early on with Hampson going off. We didn't have a key position forward.
But enter Brock McLean.
Brock McLean.
The injection of pace.
Yes, that's right. Flash McLean, as you like to call him.
Twitterati.
But it was good, good to see Dygan going out forward and kicking. What did he kick? 3-4 goals?
He kicked 3 goals.
3 goals.
Just on your point on the tackles, is it 70 to 50 Carlton's way? That's a massive discrepancy.
And early on, doubling Collingwood at points, which was really good to see. But Chris Judd last night,
3 votes.
Best game of the year so far.
3 votes.
See Judd, 3 votes.
He moved extraordinarily well. Cruiser, they played him in the ruck and he looked less hindered. He looked more free. A lot of people weren't sure whether he was injured or not.
Well,
there were concerns, but that man, he's in the right spot, and it looks as if he needs to stay there and play almost like at North Melbourne, Goldstein. He needs to have 85% ruck time for him to blossom. He's coming from a long way back with some injuries, but over the next few years, he's a very exciting player.
Well, I think if you're playing him up forward or down back, it's a waste of talent because in the ruck, he's pretty much an extra midfielder like your Nick Naitanui. He's got that. He's got the pace as well as being able to pick up the ball, below his knees. He's very agile.
Well, I believe he had 6 clearances last night, which is really impressive for a man his size. It's bad news for Robbie Warnock, that's for sure. Who probably I think if Cruz is going to hit that form, I don't think he really should get a game at all.
Warnock could come back in if Hampson's injured.
Or depending on Hampson, but really good game from Cruiser last night.
Yeah, I thought Yaron had a great game as well. I think 12 disposals in the second half when it was on the line as well, so he performed when it mattered. Certainly think he's turned his form around in the last few weeks.
Well, he had 23, and for Chris Yaron to get the ball 23 times, considering he's so quick and he uses it so
damaging.
Well. When he was running through the centre of the ground, he just dropped it on his foot, speared it to the likes of Eddie Betts, who kicked 4 last night as well. Really good performance from him. Really good stuff, really good signs for Carlton.
I think it has to be said as well that the players that have the lesser lights of Collingwood that have been really good in the last couple of weeks and been, forward pressure, dragging them across the line with tackles and stuff like that. Players like Marley Williams and Jamie Elliott, Jackson Payne even, Ben Sinclair, those guys probably didn't have their greatest nights of all time, and it's your bottom six really a lot more of the time that wins you games, and their bottom six, in Collingwood's bottom six, probably didn't stand up as well as they have in the last couple of weeks.
I mean, even talking about Collingwood's top six, like Swan picked up 31, side bottom 26, Beams got the ball 24 times. They all got the footy, but none of them used it at over 70%. They were awful trying to pick out targets. Their decision making was ridiculous, and I think this is a structural issue that Collingwood need to look at going into the finals. Once Cloak goes up the ground, their forward line becomes so very impotent. Chris Dawes needs to really start evaluating himself. Yeah. He does, as a footballer, because Collingwood are absolutely no chance if they can't get someone deep, and they can't have Cloak up the ground all the time.
He isn't worth $1 million, by the way. Trade him.
Not even close.
We'll take him for Gavin Urquhart in our second and third rounders.
On a good note for Collingwood, I thought Jared Blair was really impressive. 18 contested possessions, 9 clearances. So another inside midfielder for Collingwood, so they got really impressive stocks there.
He's also very hard to tackle because he's very short. I don't think he's only 173
Ashton Hams.
centimetres, and he's got this low...
Quack!
He's got this low centre of gravity, and it's hard to tackle him. Sharad Wellingham, how many weeks?
Oh, he's a very naughty boy. He'll be in trouble.
4. Yeah. Bit of guilty play.
4 would guilty.
6.
Wow.
6. He's going to get
Big call.
done. If blokes are getting done for 3 weeks for tackles, for charging, he's going to get major head-high contact.
Yeah, with concussion as well,
given,
so the result was high.
Given how Simpson looked after the contact, it didn't look great.
Well, text us in your thoughts on the Wellingham hit, 0427 767 767.
How many weeks do you think he should get?
We've got a text here now from Strawn Side, one of our regulars.
Oh, good morning.
Collingwood and Titanic both sunk under pressure. Yep, nice. Good observation there.
Impressive.
Very good. Use that as well.
And Chris Dawes is potentially turning into another Jack Anthony. From Shawnee again.
Well, I'm sure Ross
Jack
Lyon
Anthony
is
big head.
getting very excited over there in Perth.
I think. What you reckon that Collingwood will trade Dawes to Freo?
Well, if he keeps going the way he is,
imagine that forward line: Dawes and Anthony, the big head brigade. Draft trade Brett Ebert in and maybe get Gavin Urquhart in to balance it out a little.
Look like Easter Island, that forward line.
You just have to tackle them around their head as opposed to their waist.
They're about as useful as stone statues.
Anyway, on that note, I think we should go to some SYN messages.
Klingan pub, vi chodbu which kupdach mutai which vi sochnis.
The Klingonian ambassador would like you to know that he has a live cat in his pants.
Jikup vach ji.
And he enjoys it.
Pavam wab jub bi it willap. Dach 90.7 duck che-li.
The Klingonian ambassador would like to add that you should listen to the Sci-Fi Hiker's Guide to the Galaxy, available on SYN 90.7 from 3 p.m. until 4. That, or... Okay, I'll be completely honest, I have no idea what this guy's saying.
Kapwach.
This is an FYI for in-joke, so it's okay if you don't get it.
Did you have an absolute hoot at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival and go and see all of your favourite comedians and some you've never heard of before? Or maybe you missed out and are sad that because the festival has ended, there will not be comedy again in Melbourne until next year. Well, you're wrong. Every time I click my fingers, a local comedian gets a job in retail so they can eat. As more comedy venues close due to lack of popularity, comedians have to walk kilometres and kilometres from their house to the tram stop to their venue just to get fresh laughs. Did you know that there are comedy rooms running in Melbourne every day of the week? When you mistakenly think comedy is just for the comedy festival, like a puppy is only for Christmas, another comedy room dies from laughter starvation. Do you want to be a better person and get more information? Listen to In Joke from 5 p.m. Sundays for all of your comedy needs and for Melbourne comedy's sake.
And you're back listening to Bound for Glory on SYN. I think now we're going to just have...
Now, I wrote this when Carlton were crap about 4 days ago, alright? I wrote this when they were no good, and now that they're pretty good, this just makes me look like an idiot.
Yeah, I didn't know how to explain that, but thanks, because
I have no shame. No shame. Look, can we just pretend that it's Friday? Like Friday morning.
Still terrible.
Pressure is mounting on Ratner on this beautiful Friday morning.
Gibbs, Cruiser, oh lord.
Yeah, they're all crap. Look, it has to be said that this win is probably.
It's written as a loss on the paper.
It is. But look, this win is probably going to save Ratton's coaching job. I mean, no one picked them to beat Collingwood last night. But at the same time, there were, and probably still will be, power brokers around Carlton calling for Ratton's head and an overhaul of the football department because, up until last night, they'd lost 6 out of the last 7 games. They looked uninterested and tired and pretty crap. They had power brokers jumping in, and last night they had Jeffrey Edelston in the box. Yes, the good Dr. Jeffrey Edelston who married Bryn, the worst people on the planet. And there was a lot of scrutiny about why they would have people who aren't involved with the club in the box, and it looks like an unprofessional type of thing. In any case, we heard from last week from a rookie, former Carlton rookie Jared Keisha, that Ratton isn't exactly the best communicator to his players. Again, all of this is just it's just bullshit because they won last night, and all of this that makes me sound really bad. But at the same time, look, I can't do this anymore because this segment is just irrelevant.
I mean, look, one win doesn't really change everything. You got to have a look at the rest of the season, and if a Maltas or Ruse was available at the end of the season, that's something that seriously needs to be looked at by Carlton. Well, but you need someone who's significantly better than that, and not someone who's roughly the same level.
Malthouse did say he wouldn't entertain any coaching offers until October, or at least the end of the season. And the interesting fact about their recruiting, because there was a lot of criticism about Cruiser and Gibbs, who is obviously being played out of position, there was a lot of criticism about them, and it came out that the recruiting hierarchy has changed at Carlton, and their former recruiting manager, the one that drafted Gibbs and Walker and Murphy and Cruiser and Robinson and all their players over the last couple of years, was replaced by his number 2. Who knows how they'll go in the draft this year. It looks like a pretty good draft. I think we'll be talking about that later on, but yeah, it's interesting to note that they're trying to rectify what many people might see as mistakes with drafting. I don't know. Cruiser was good last night, like we talked about. Gibbs finally returned to form, and Murphy looks like he's going to come back in the next couple of weeks. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that Ratton is still in trouble after last night?
It depends how much damage has been done. As you said, they're holding on to the 8, and their run home isn't. If they keep playing like they played last night, their run home won't be that difficult. But if the symptoms start to creep in again, it could be a bit difficult. This is Carlton's run home. Next week they play North Melbourne at Etihad next Friday night, which is an absolute huge game.
They'll lose that.
Have you got your segment ready?
50-50. 50-50. Okay, the Bulldogs at Etihad, you'd pencil that in as a win at this stage. Mm-hmm. The Tigers at the MCG, that's a 50-50 for me, because Richmond, you just, again, don't know whether they'll bring it or they won't.
No, Martin.
No, actually, he'll be back by then.
He'll be back.
Yeah, the 2-week suspension for drug-related offences is really cracking down on the letter of the law.
They play the Swans at Etihad. I'd back them in. Sydney,
50-50,
again, you just don't know which Carlton will show up.
We don't know which Sydney's going to come to Etihad either.
True. They play Brisbane at Etihad. You'd pencil that in for a win. The Bombers at the MCG. On Essendon's form, I don't think so. Essendon have totally superseded all expectations I've had for them this year, so I don't see why not. The Gold Coast up there, and then
that's a win.
Yeah,
it's a win.
The Saints at Etihad. Now
50-50 again. I think
another 50-50 game.
So they travel once. That's a good sign.
It's definitely good for Carlton coming into the end, but it's whether the damage has been done. Now, Gibbs. It wasn't necessarily he didn't have the same output as other weeks. He just looked more confident. He attacked the ball. When it was in dispute, he put his head over it, and that's a lot of the criticisms that have come his way. Cruiser again having more ruck time, and players like Mitch Robertson and Dygan not only having defensive outlets but also going on the offense. And a lot of criticisms of Carlton's structure is that they're too rigid, that you've only got players who can play in one position, but if Ratton can keep pulling those tricks out, that's something you can save for September.
Well, at the start of the year, they were widely tipped to finish in the top 4. People tipped them to be premiers. They're currently sitting 8th on percentage only. Can they make the top 4? Do they have a realistic chance at winning the premiership this year? Can Ratton take them to finals glory?
Well, they had high expectations, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I can't make the top 4. No, there's no way they can fit in with Collingwood, Sydney, West Coast, Adelaide, Essendon pushing for spots.
At the moment, they're 3 games and percentage off the top 4.
Yeah, it's too far back to come. They're way too far back to make a push for the top 4. Finals, I think they can still make finals because there's a lot of competition around that last spot with St Kilda, North, really hot competition there. Premiers, no, they can't win the flag. They had high expectations internally, but no, they can't win the flag.
I think...
Is their premiership window closed? Because Judd is getting old. He's getting old, and he'll be gone. And I'm not that excited by their young players. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. I know massive Carlton supporters in here, but can they win the flag next year? What about the year after?
I'd argue their premiership window didn't even open. I think they've still got players like Lucas and Allard. People, mull over the age of Carlton's midfield. Lucas, Allard, they'll be quality footballers. You've got other X factors like Buckley. We just don't know what we're going to get from him, Dylan Buckley. Even like Collins last night, who played pretty well. So Carlton, they can just slide right in like Beams and Sidebottom have slid into Collingwood's midfield. So with Murphy back, and if they can get a key forward...
They need a key forward. You guys need a key forward.
Until we get a key forward, I don't think we're any chance.
Hey, Brendan Favola kicked 9 goals in the Legends game the other night.
Sure did, don't remind me.
Going back to go forward.
You could. Well, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah, but it's good to see that Watson stepped up in the defence there, helping out Jamison. But without Waite, we haven't got any decent key position forward, apart from the young Luke Mitchell in the reserve. So
doesn't he have like half a shoulder?
Yeah,
to his whole body.
Yeah, he's had a couple of Ricos and stuff.
Unfortunate.
Quick question: who do you trade, Hampson or Warnock?
Oh God, who has more value?
Warnock. You trade Warnock because he can't really play the tall key forward as well as Hampson can.
Now I agree, but hear me out. You keep Hampson because he's dating Megan Gale, and she must raise the morale around the club. Like she must make the boys feel good.
Yeah.
I reckon you'd trade Hampson. I reckon you'd get more because he's younger. I reckon just with older ruckman, you might get something. And Warnock's experienced. Hampson, he really doesn't look like taking a contested mark more than what Warnock can do. And whether it's just a role where you keep Warnock just out of the 22 every second or third week, or an arrangement, something like that. But I think you'd trade Hampson because you'd have more value him being younger, and clubs can get him at that age and mould him into whatever they want him to be.
Well, again, text us in 0427 767 767. Who do you trade, Hampson or Warnock? Or if you trade any of them at all. But
would you sack Ratton?
Sack Buckley.
Sack Bucks. Hashtag sack Bucks. Get it trending.
But I think we better go to some sim messages. We'll be back after this.
This is an FYI for in-joke, so it's okay if you don't get it.
Did you have an absolute hoot at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival and go and see all of your favourite comedians and some you've never heard of before? Or maybe you missed out and are sad that because the festival has ended, there will not be comedy again in Melbourne until next year. Well, you're wrong. Every time I click my fingers, a local comedian gets a job in retail so they can eat. As more comedy venues close due to lack of popularity, comedians have to walk kilometres and kilometres from their house to the tram stop to their venue just to get fresh laughs. Did you know that there are comedy rooms running in Melbourne every day of the week? When you mistakenly think comedy is just for the comedy festival, like a puppy is only for Christmas, another comedy room dies from laughter starvation. Do you want to be a better person and get more information? Listen to In Joke from 5 p.m. Sundays for all of your comedy needs and for Melbourne comedy's sake.
Oh, Timmy, I'm home. It's been a bugger of a day again.
Oh, really, Jules? Tell me about it. Let me cut your hair.
No, Tim, bless you. Cutting my hair is always your solution. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go into the lounge and listen to my favourite current affairs show, Panorama. 4 to 5 p.m. weekdays on Sin. Bring the cathedral, Tim.
We're back on scariest ad of all time.
It was quite odd, but we're back on Bound for Glory on Sin. Now we're going to have a look at the draft for this year. A few of us went down to the under-18s down at Etihad Stadium, watched a few of the Division 1 games, Vic Metro, Country, South Australia, Western Australia. Good young talent to have a look at, and I think we better look at a few of the players who stood out, who we were impressed by their performances, and what sort of teams we'll be looking at drafting those sorts of players and those sort of things. So, I mean, Vic Country, they've got a lot of seriously impressive players. Lockie Whitfield, of course, number one. His game on Wednesday was seriously impressive. He had 10 clearances, 10 inside 50s. Didn't look like it on Wednesday, but he really was probably best on ground. Ollie Wines as well, and Jake Stringer, 3 very top-end midfielders. Very impressive players. So I think they're all probably top 10 picks. What do you guys make of their game?
Well, Tim Membry, he led well. He can take a strong mark, and he, when the ball hit the deck, he always, made a contest of it. Ollie Wines, very classy half-forward flanker. Even Lockie Whitfield, as you said, clearance machine. Every time the ball fell at his feet, he attacked. Always, kicked it long, a long penetrating kick. Is it Lewis Taylor, the one that we saw, who just ran around like a head without a chook?
He was seriously impressive.
70
A head without a chook.
A head without a chook.
That's another gaff. That's
That's going straight to the pool room / compilation end of year.
Put that through to the keeper.
What have we become?
It's absolutely fantastic.
That's the best yet.
But we are getting interviews with Ollie Wines and Jake Stringer during the week as well. Hopefully try to be a bit more composed in the studio here. But yeah, Lewis Taylor, he was... He was seriously good on Wednesday. He just had a real nuggety inside midfielder about him, kicking, really drilling an inside 50, just real, almost antagonistic way about him. He looked seriously good. Matt Crouch as well, another bottom-age kid. Brother of Brad, who got picked up in the mini-draft, and Matt Crouch is also eligible for that too. So he looks like he'll be a top pick. Looks like teams will be paying high prices for him. But I think we're going to move on. South Australia. Well, the number one player there they've got, obviously, is Brodie Grundy, big ruckman. He looks like he could be a top 2 draft pick at the moment on his form, because Gold Coast, GWS, they both seriously need a ruckman, and he looks like he's the best one to come through the draft in a few years. A few other good players, such as Sam Colquhoun, really good, composed, almost elite kick coming off half-back. I was really impressed by his game. And then
looking at that list, there's a lot of players on that list that look like they're draftable. Aish is going to go in the next couple of years. Colquhoun, like you said. Grundy, Ira, Kennedy, Mays, McDonough, O'Brien, Scharenberg, Sumner, Tumpus. I can all see them going in the draft. It's a massive list of players.
McDonough's kicked 15 goals in his last 3 games, so he's tore it up as a medium forward. But then there's Jimmy Tumpus, Ben Kennedy, who will both go really high, and Sam Mays as well. So some really good midfielders coming through for South Australia. What do you guys think?
Safe to say, I reckon Jimmy Tumpus, he's got a bit of the one, was it pick 3? Last year's draft for GWS. What's his name?
Dom Tyson.
Not Dom Tyson, the other one, number 2.
Caniglio.
He looks, poised like him. Whenever he got the ball, he was pretty comforted. He looked ahead. He, always found someone, even while he was in traffic.
He's got a damaging kick.
And a bloody good name. Jimmy Tumpus.
Sounds like a Greek dip.
Yeah.
Sounds tasty.
Ben Kennedy, another classy-looking player you could probably play on a half-forward flank like Ollie Wines. Could be another chook.
Or another head.
Don't start with
Or another head.
Can we separate them into 2 categories? Chooks are good, heads are bad.
I do like Kennedy though. He reminds me a bit of Brent Harvey in that sort of fashion.
He's pretty short, quick, so that might see him drop a little bit.
And Brodie Grundy was good as well. He's like a decent version of Sean Hampson. You can actually take a mark up forward and convert goals.
Does South Australia really have a player called Tim Broomhead?
Yes.
That is outstanding.
Yeah,
you get drafted just on his name.
You should do. Speaking of, just to jump over to the Western Australia side here, they have a player called Shaquille. That's true, Shaquille McKenzie. Shaquille. Shaq. It's awesome. That's a great name. And Marco Paparone too.
Yeah,
we could leave you here for hours just staring at that list.
I could just go to these names and just make fun of them.
You can do the show on your own, Jordan.
I could do the show on my own. Sorry to keep jumping in, guys.
We'll do it one week. You can just go through a list of players' names.
I will, and just make fun of them. Just give me 5 minutes and I'll do it.
But jumping across to Western Australia, they got the standout player definitely is Dale Garlett, who seriously impressive through the midfield. Great skill base. He can kick a goal. He's very, very quick. I can see him going to a team like the Bulldogs with pick 6 or 7 or whatever pick that is, or Port Adelaide or a team like that. And then they've got a few younger blokes, Western Australia, that are very impressive. Jack Martin, in particular, he was their best player on Wednesday. Jesse Hogan, who is eligible for the mini draft, as is Martin, and then Marco Paparone, who looks like one of the better key forwards in the draft. So, I mean, I think the Doggies in particular have a look at these blokes. They need some skilled midfielders.
Skid marks.
Skilled midfielders and key forward, and Paparone looks impressive. Adam Carter as well, a small defender, midfielder, very good player there. And Mason Shaw, too.
Don't forget one to look out for in the future, Jack Billings.
Jack Billings from Vic Metro. Bottom age, but he's got that X factor about him as a forward. Probably play for the midfield as well. He kicked a few goals on the weekend. I think it was about 3. He kicked
3 goals too.
3 goals too. He just looked damaging whenever he got near the footy. As a Melbourne supporter, he reminds me of a more consistent Colin Sylvia, if that helps. I mean, Sylvia on his day is a very damaging player, so Jack Billings looks to be a top draft pick for next year. And then, as always, there's Joe Danaher, who absolutely dominated on Wednesday, just taking lots of marks. He's very confident in his ability, pointing fingers in the air when he's not even kicked goals.
A bit fig jamish.
Am I reading this right? He kicked 4 goals, 6. That's not a
He'll fit
not
in
a
well at
misprint.
Windy Hill then with his goal kicking skills there.
Matthew Dick, good game.
And then
It's just like his name.
Just like his name was.
What was the other one you found?
What?
Chase Strange?
Chase Strange. That's 2 adjectives. One's not even an adjective.
I could just sit here all day and just let him crack
A
wise.
lot of good players on the Vic Metro team, as always. Ethan, would you like to go through that list?
Nick Vlastwin, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a tall midfielder from a basketball background. Great mark, great kick. A bit Brennan Goddard-esque for player comparisons, although probably not as skilled overall. And then a couple of father-sons in Jack Viney, inside ball winner. Where he's going to be picked is, as always, a big debate. And then Luke McDonald for North Melbourne, who looked seriously comfortable. He got selected in the under-18 All-Australian side, so looked really good. I thought you were really pleased by his game.
Yeah, again, just please, come on, soon, Luke, come to North.
Commit, bro.
Commit, please.
He looks like he'll be a first rounder, though.
Can someone enlighten me as to how you pronounce this young man's name, Nathan Hrovat? Is that how you do it? Hrovat?
I don't know if he dropped the H or not.
You'd assume
Robert.
It would be a silent H.
Fair enough. And one to look for the next couple of years, underage player, and is seriously impressive. I've seen his highlights package. Thomas Boyd, really good key forward who looks like he's going to go really high in the next couple of years.
And Jackson McRae, Jonathan O'Rourke as well, two impressive midfielders.
One father son you forgot to mention is Lockie Hunter for the Bulldogs. He's out of the Western Jets, and they apparently like him very much, so he'll be going there.
Actually, you saw is it Dale Garlett for Western Australia? Yeah. You sort of brought him back into the game. He's very pacey. He uses the ball well. Do you think that's attracted any attention to some of the
I
clubs?
think it's attracted a heap of attention. I mean, a lot of where you get drafted relies on the draft camp as well. But he did bring Western Australia back into the game. He's just got a lot of pace and again a lot of X factor about him. He can break a game in 5 minutes. Really did turn the momentum around for Western Australia. They were down by about 50 points at half time or so, and they brought it back to about 20 odd until Vic Metro consolidated the win. So him and Jack Martin looked to be two very impressive midfielders coming out of Western Australia. So it looks like a good midfielders draft, key forwards as well. So Doggies with a couple of high picks should enjoy it. Richmond as well. Couple of. I mean, the drafting has been a bit suspect over the last few years. I think we can all universally admit.
Is there a name in there that stands out that as much as what was that bloke's Jared Oakley Nichols? Is Christopher DeLuca Cardillo? Expect him to go to Richmond at about pick 6, I think.
Can we just take that pick away from them?
Yeah,
Can we just have an intervention?
Yeah.
But they could very easily pick up a Nick Vlastwin, who looks to be a very impressive midfielder, or Matthew McDonough or Tim Membry with a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Someone who can just slot in as a medium forward who can take a mark and kick a goal. Very good assets. And as well as Geelong, they could have a very good draft depending on where they finish. I mean, Troy Menzel is one that we didn't get to see on Wednesday because he was out injured. tore his ACL when he was 16, had the Lars reconstruction, which is normally something reserved for much older players in the twilight of their careers. So he did that to push for draft camp, and he looks to be a first-round pick, very talented like his brother. Could go to Geelong. You never know. He probably could slip to there. Again, Freo have a very good look at the draft with a couple of key forwards there in Paparone and Shaw, and some good midfielders as well. So universally, I think we can admit it's a very, very strong draft coming through.
I think also it could be the first 2 rounds are strong. I don't know about after that, because there are also a lot of players out there that most clubs wouldn't touch with a barge pole. So, the first round will be strong. After that, I'm just not sure. It's not the super draft that everyone's made it out to be.
No, I don't think it's anything in comparison to 2001, where you had players like Dane Swan at pick 58 and ridiculous things like that. But I think we can admit it's a very talented draft coming up.
Even Boyd in the rookie draft.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
But yeah, I think very impressive draft. We can admit. We'll be back after some sim messages.
Looking for a fun excursion?
SYN offers exciting radio tours for schools, community groups and more.
Learn about community radio and get hands-on producing your own podcast show in the SYN studios.
Are you a student? Tell your teacher about SYN. If you're a teacher, go to syn.org.au/education or email training@syn.org.au.
That's syn.org.au/education or email training@syn.org.au.
No one would have believed in the first years of the 21st century that human affairs were being watched
by Panorama. Human affairs by young people, for young people. 4 to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday on SYN.
SYN? SYN.
SYN. Welcome back to SYN, the only show where heads do not have chooks.
Wait, SYN's a show?
SYN's a show? SYN's a radio show.
There's another one. Yeah,
now, this week, we've seen Essendon finally announce a clash jumper. They've called it a heritage strip, but the reality is... People say finally, I think it simply should not have happened. But Essendon are the last team who have officially created a clash jumper. People go on about Collingwood, but I think Collingwood do have 2 effective clash jumpers, one an away strip and one a clash jumper, so I don't think that's really an issue. But Essendon, in the past few years, have basically been using a fat sash and red shorts, which I think was perfectly okay to respect its heritage, tradition, in addition to making sure that, the constitution of the Essendon Football Club was maintained. And this is a very touchy subject, and there's been a lot of debate on football forums, on radio, about whether or not Essendon has done the right thing. So let's just firstly talk about this new heritage jumper. It's basically grey. It's a lot greyer than the pictures suggest. The pictures were actually the more recent pictures which have been released. It's more of a light grey. They've got the name of every premiership player on the jumper, and I guess they've got the red sash incorporated into it as well. Now this, as a supporter, personally I've always been against the clash jumper. I don't believe it's required. I think first of all, there are no real main clashes, and any clashes which do exist, I think Melbourne's probably one which is probably the main issue I have.
St Kilda,
I felt the wide sash with the red shorts was enough to get rid of that clash. I think there are other options available which don't need to go.
White sash with red shorts, or
either way, whichever way it goes. I don't think it's necessary for the Essendon Football Club to be forced into wearing other colours outside of black and red. And people say, get over it. A lot of people have said that to me over the last few days. It's simply a jumper. Who really cares? But it's the same sort of people. If someone came up to you today and sort of said, let's change the Australian flag, let's change the Australian national anthem, you get a lot of debate in regards to this issue. And the Essendon Football Club jumper has been around for 200 years. It holds the record as the most consecutively same jumper in the world, and that's sort of going to go against this Saturday. So I think, honestly, the pure logical side of me says this is a long time coming. It should have happened years ago. But purely from a supporter point of view, I think the club hasn't gone about this the right way. They've basically waited till the week before to announce it. They simply have not given the supporters the opportunity to have any input in regards to the clash jumper. And I think it could have been done in a slightly more respectful fashion and actually incorporated the supporter base in creating some sort of clash jumper. So I'm not happy with the way the Essendon Football Club has gone about doing this. And in all honesty, I don't blame them. They require funding from the AFL to fund their new facility base. In the last 12 months, they've given up their website, they've given up their their jumper, and it's something that I guess inevitably would have to happen. I just would have liked a slightly more different way about doing it. And I guess people text in on what your thoughts are regarding clash jumper, Essendon supporters in particular, and whether or not you actually support it. What are your thoughts?
Well, first I'll disagree with you, then I'll agree with you on a point later. You did not just compare the Essendon jumper to the Australian flag.
Yeah, I have to take issue with that as well.
Well, you know what? They both represent a long history.
Explain the analogy, please.
Well, look, I see...
Ball's in your court.
The way I see it, the Essendon Football Club has been allowing... For everyone, people...
Let me take a stab at it. The Essendon Football Club is a country.
It is a country. It's a separate country. It's not.
You can't make that argument.
People have the same...
That got invaded by a lawn bowls club.
It did. That's quite true. Look, the Essendon Football Club has a lot of supporters have a massive emotional attachment to it, like people do to country. So my analogy here is that people are very resistant to change, and I think there's a way to go about doing it. You require debate, you require incorporating supporter base involved in changing that decision, and it simply has not occurred in this case.
But if every football club ran every decision past their members, nothing would ever get done.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But would have been sacked.
Exactly.
There's a few...
everyone would have been sacked.
The coaches would be changing every 3 weeks. The player base would be ridiculously convoluted. There'd be so many different players at every club every week.
Brendan Favola will be playing for 18 teams at once.
Exactly.
He would be. See, I don't think the Essendon Football Club needs to go through every decision, but I think there's certain important decisions which need to be incorporated. So the move away from Windy Hill, there was a big discussion base. They had a lot of football forums, a lot of opportunity for the supporters to have an input involved in it. I think that went about the right way. It was the best decision for Essendon to relocate away from Windy Hill. In this case, it was simply something they sent through an email on Sunday night going, we have a new jumper, you're wearing it in 5 days' time, or 6 days' time. I don't think that was the right way to do it.
I noticed you brought up EPL, and can someone who knows Manchester United better than I do, when were they founded?
1858, but don't quote me on that.
So they've been around for the better part of 150 years.
Yeah.
Do their supporters get as pissed off as Essendon supporters do when they change the jumper for away games or, different types of... They do? Every year?
Every year.
Is it as bad as this? So?
So they do. So they do get annoyed.
Every single club in the EPL, I would assume, changes their jumper for away games and clashes and things like that. And, they probably go about it with a little bit more decorum than Essendon has, but at the same time, I doubt it's as big an issue as Essendon. Every club in the AFL is probably required to have a clash jumper because of the clash with other clubs. And even Collingwood, the incredibly pig-headed Collingwood club, have a clash jumper now.
And it doesn't change the colours of the club.
Regardless,
but
they have
it does
one.
invert it, you can definitely tell.
One point I want to bring up is you say that it somehow is sacrilegious to the heritage of the Essendon Football Club.
Get.
Every premiership player that ever played for Essendon, the name is on the jumper. That baffles.
That seems
my
like
mind.
honouring the history to me.
Look, my mind is already baffled. I'm making mistakes on radio, but my lord.
They're keeping the sash as well, aren't they? So I don't know how it goes against their heritage and culture and whatever history.
It's got an extra colour.
They've added to
I
the
reckon
heritage.
it looks brilliant.
I mean,
Anyone?
I personally don't. I'll see it tonight. I don't personally think the colour's way too light. You'll have a look at it tonight. The lighting made it look very good, but the actual pictures released afterwards doesn't make it look very good.
Well, I have one point to make, and you can't really play the heritage card when you got teams like Melbourne who wear red, blue, and white. North Melbourne look like Argentina. Hawthorn wear brown.
Dude, we had an orange jumper
Brisbane
once.
as well.
Carlton looks like Manchester City.
blue
Adelaide,
M&Ms.
Gold Coast. I don't think you can play a card when a lot of teams with even longer heritage. I don't know what Geelong's clash jumper is like, to be honest, but
it's the one with the cat on the front.
Yeah. You can take your heritage card back.
Yeah, look, it's a relatively irrational argument to make that I am making. I think it's purely from a supporter point of view. From a logical point of view, I can see the logic behind the AFL requiring this, and I also think it's an opportunity for Essendon to, I guess, make more money and the AFL, and they have. I think the jumper's already sold out on the Bomber Shop. But purely from the point of view of the supporter base, there's a right way to go about doing it. I don't think the S Club has handled it in an appropriate manner.
I also did say at the start of that I'd agree with you on something. Last Friday night when Hawthorn took on Carlton, someone explained to me how Hawthorn's home jumper clashes with Carlton's home jumper. Can someone?
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It does not.
Why did Hawthorn wear their clash jumper? The AFL at times have used that as an excuse, but even Essendon, you say they've just made some money. Aren't you guys building a new facility out in Tullamarine?
Yeah,
maybe that's a money-making.
We have got a tweet in from long-time listener Lucrius, who says that Caroline Wilson's piece on ruining the heritage as a club, Essendon, was quote-unquote pathetic. Our heritage is in those premiership players printed on the jumper, and he agrees with the majority of the panel here.
Well, text us in on 0427 767 767 what your thoughts are on the Essendon jumper.
If you are a disgruntled Bombers supporter, please let us hear your thoughts.
Please do.
Your reasons, please.
We would love to start some fierce debate on this.
You do make a point that the AFL do find ways to make clashes, or clubs find a way to make clashes when there aren't any. Because last Friday night just confused the living hell out of me. And on that note, I think we can go to some SYN messages.
Dear, come listen to this.
What's that, dear?
Why, it's arts and culture on the wireless. Bring your monocle.
Oh, what's the show called?
Artsmitten, 4 p.m. Sundays on SYN.
So my name's Josh. I run a dubstep and electro show on Monday nights. You should probably listen in Mondays 8 till 10 p.m. It's fun stuff. We have regular guests, new music all the time, and we're going to be talking to the latest, greatest in dubstep, electro, and now drum and bass. Tune in to SYN's Indie Electro Night from 8 to 10.
SYN opens its doors to young people of all kinds. Hundreds of schools, youth and community groups come to SYN each year. Our tours, workshops and programs are great for building teamwork, confidence and literacy skills. To find out about our education programs, head to syn.org.au/education or email training@syn.org.au.
And you're back on listening to Bound for Glory on SYN.
Yeah!
90.7 FM. Now, round 15 of the AFL continues today. And I just had one of those feelings that it might be one of those rounds again where no one's going to go home with the whopper on footytips.com. No one's going to get the full nine.
I'll tell you what.
I went home with the whopper last night after last night's game.
It depends on how many accounts you have, though.
That's the joke.
What are you talking about? I'm going to leave that one for
Can we just... I think we should get back on topic.
Back to the footy.
Down at Blundstone Arena today, North Melbourne's home game away from home.
The resurgence continues.
North Melbourne, undefeated in the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
Take on the West Coast Eagles, 1:45 p.m. How do you guys see this one shaping up?
I sense a bit of an upset. I reckon North can get over the top. It's been really impressive through the midfield over the last few weeks with Daniel Wells has been super impressive. Even
sparkling.
Even I watched the last quarter of North St Kilda last week. Bastanak had, 3-4 shots on goal, which was nuts for a midfielder. Atlee is in very good form off halfback flank. Great kick.
Please,
great
not on the
pace.
controls.
And then you got a very tall forward line as well with Petrie, Hansen and Robbie Tarrant. So I reckon North can get up. West Coast at Blunsdon, I don't know their form. I don't think they played there.
No, I think it's great that they
First
are
time
playing
West
there.
Coast ever playing there,
Yeah.
I, for one, am looking forward to Sam Wright giving Shannon Hearn a nice sponge bath, just wiping him down. Did the job on Goddard last week, and he normally, now I assume he would normally have to take the opposition's most damaging halfback. So if he goes to Shannon Hearn, I think it's going to go a long way to North winning this game. The triple towers in the forward line, you'd want to hope that Robbie Tarrant does something again this week because he did the perfect decoy role last week and it's time for him to step up. Lockie Hansen finally starting to show some aggression. Sean Atlee coming off the halfback flank like Heath said. I think we've got a massive chance of winning this one. We've got to stop the West Coast midfield, which is always dangerous with Cox, Selwood, Shuey and Prittis named there. And Natanui limped off Blundstone at training last night with a twisted ankle, so he could be in doubt for today's game.
Yeah, you'd say North Melbourne have 3 things they have to do today. A, as you said, Wright needs to go to Hearn. They need to get first use out of the middle. And no stupid mistakes, unlike me. They just need to not turn the ball over and overuse it in the middle. Last week they did that against the Saints in the first quarter. And St Kilda led at quarter time, 6-3. You can score very heavily against North Melbourne when, they turn the ball over on the half-forward flank and where numbers sit. You can kick a very big score against North, just as they can kick a massive score. But I just still think the Eagles will have enough, and the Eagles by a kick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with North Melbourne by not very much, just because I hold out hope.
Well, it's a very tall forward line for West Coast as well, I think, which will stretch North's defence. But I'm going to tip North by a couple of kicks. I just think their form over the last 3 weeks has been fantastic.
I think I'm going to go with West Coast, although if North kick straight, I think they are a good chance. They have to take all their opportunities because West Coast will, with their press, they will create a lot of opportunities. If they can kick straight, I think they are a good chance of winning.
West Coast have won 8 of their past 11 meetings against the Roos. I think it's going to be a close one, though. The past 2 encounters, it's only been 16 and 4 points separating the two sides. But I think West Coast will come away in a close one.
Something I've just noticed is that North Melbourne's bench is the publishing company, Harper Macmillan. That's a publishing company, isn't it? Yep. I think so. I'm getting the heads up over there from Bound for Glory member Ash Craven, so I've done well there.
You've done well.
I've done well, yeah.
You've read a book. I think that's what it's.
I've done well. Yeah, I've read things. Coming up today at 2:10 at the MCG is the blockbuster of the round, Melbourne versus Richmond. Heath, would you like to tackle this one, given that your boys are involved?
Ding, ding, ding.
Big changes for Richmond this week. They got 7 outs, which is huge. 2
of them forced.
Players like Daniel Jackson suspended, Martin suspended, Connors sacked.
Gone!
And then Brad Miller dropped, which was a bit unfortunate. I thought he was doing okay, key forward for Richmond. And then Jake King, Dylan Grimes, and Todd Elton was dropped as well. So a lot of changes for Richmond, which I think will be interesting.
Do I see Jake Spencer named as first ruck?
You do.
That's pathetic.
So uncoordinated, which is unfortunate. Mark Jamar couldn't come back. And James Seller is out this week with a thigh injury of some sort, which is unfortunate because he was hitting some good form. But Nathan Jones comes back for Melbourne, which should really boost their chances of winning. And I think if Melbourne can play 4 quarters, they do have a sniff. What do you guys think?
Very interesting matchup there. Deledio named, of course they don't play as their name, but Deledio on Watts, I think if Melbourne are any chance of causing an upset, they need to watch some of Richmond's more outside players like Deledio. I don't think Foley's named today, but definitely Grigg, Tuck, those sort of players. If they can break even in the midfield, I think they can get close today.
Well, Grigg had about 35 touches last time he played Melbourne, so he'll be one to watch.
Oh, but Grigg likes his space, though.
For reference, last time Richmond did win by, 9 goals, almost 10 goals, so...
Yeah, pretty much. Colin Sylvia always likes playing Richmond. I think Melbourne... if they play 4 quarters, they do have a chance, but I think you got to go with the safe tip, Richmond by about 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah, I reckon the Tigers by about 3.
Richmond?
Yep, Tigers.
Yep, Richmond as well.
At the SCG later today, the Sydney Swans take on the Brisbane Lions. Here's a fun fact for you all. The Brisbane Lions are a game out of the 8.
Wow.
Now, they haven't won... They've lost something like their last 6 or 7 at the SCG, the Lions.
That thing is a friggin' fortress.
You cannot win up there.
Oh
they suffocate you.
Yeah.
It's impossible. I think Brisbane, I don't see them getting the job done, but again, I just have this feeling that it's just going to be one of those weeks.
I do like the boy Zorko. Very good.
Yeah, very good. Overlooked by the Gold Coast for disciplinary issues, as they say.
And now he's killing them.
Exactly.
In any case, I don't know. Who am I going to go with in this one? Who do we like in this one, boys?
Well, Sydney's first quarters at the SCG in the last few weeks has been seriously impressive. They kicked something like 23 goals won in 3 games.
To like 2 goals 4.
In the last 3 first quarters, which is crazy. So I think Brisbane, they've been good over the last few weeks, but I don't think you can really topple Sydney at home. So Sydney will win by about 4 or 5 goals.
If Sydney are up by more than 20 at quarter time, Sydney.
Yeah, Sydney to notch up another one at the Fortress.
Interesting stat here. The team leading at quarter time has won 12 of the past 13 matches between the two clubs, which is pretty interesting. But Brisbane haven't got that much form against Sydney, only winning 2 of its past 13 matches. I think the Swans will get up here.
Yep, I agree with that by about 4 goals.
Massive game tonight.
The big game.
Massive. The clash jumper is rolled out for the first time.
It is, the heritage jumper, as they like to call it.
Potentially just gets spit on by all the Essendon supporters. Feral scums.
Jeez.
Apologies.
I'm sure there will be
Can
something
someone
out
else
there, though.
apologise?
Yeah, I apologise for that.
We're not associated. St
Yeah,
Kilda
I'll-
Essendon looks to be match of the round, I think. Two teams, St Kilda vying for a spot in the 8, Essendon vying for a spot in the top 4. Essendon's form against St Kilda of late, even when St Kilda were top 2 playing grand finals, they just couldn't beat Essendon. Essendon cut them up for pace. So players like Stanton, Watson, Zaharakis is out for another 4 or 5 weeks, which is unfortunate.
re-injured.
Re-injured his hamstring or his quadriceps or whatever it was.
Cramery as well. He's out.
And Cramery's out.
Did you guys hear how he injured himself? He was kicking Zaharakis.
No.
He's kicking for goal from outside 50 and he pulled his quad.
What, Alan Didak?
Yeah, it's actually done.
Yeah.
I remember well because I had money on him.
Did St Kilda go? Did St Kilda go unchanged? Because looking at their team, it looks like they haven't changed much.
No, there are 5 changes this week.
5 changes, actually.
Jesus,
you know, Goddard, the one
blind.
that
He's gone,
elbowed
yeah,
right in the face.
Sorry about that.
Jason
I'm
Blake out.
Blake with an ankle.
absolutely flabbergasted as to how they can keep Kaczynski in after
Yes.
last week.
Thank you.
Well, they
Thank
had-
you.
they had
Always said
to-
that.
He was vomiting at half time, though.
He did absolutely nothing.
He was sick. He had food poisoning.
He was sick. I mean, he's been good. He's been good form prior to this.
So let him get over his food poisoning in a competition that doesn't mean as much as the AFL does.
I think the only
Like
thing
the
that-
NRL.
Like the VFL or the NEAFL or something.
I think the only thing that kept him in was
Auskick.
Reece Stanley injuring his hamstring, so he had to be omitted, which is unfortunate. But I think Essendon by about... I think it's going to be closer than most people expect, so Essendon by 10 points.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people look at Essendon's record against the Saints, and really it's a record against Ross Lyon, not really the Saints. So it's a very different style of footy that the new coach has brought in this year. So I think it'll be quite close. The whole clash jumper and everything, I'm going to have to go tip against the Bombers tonight. I think it'll probably be very close, probably by 2 goals by the Saints.
Yeah, I reckon this one will have about 40 goals kicked by both sides. You know, free-flowing football. Yeah, St Kilda, they can kick them, but they leak them. And so I think Essendon have improved defensively. I think, you know, those second-level midfielders in Hocking and Howlett, they're starting to come through. I'd say the Bombers by 2 goals.
No, I'm going to go with Essendon.
Yeah, I reckon the Bombers and Watson. I'm tipping to have another big one as well. He averages 28 posies against the Saints.
Showdown. The showdown.
3 votes, lock him in.
Yeah, it's
Port v Adelaide.
Yeah, well, massive game over there at Amy Stadium tonight. The Bogans will be out in full force.
The mullet will get a spin.
Massive head Brett Ebert named in the forward pocket there. I think we should have a Brett Ebert watch every week just to see if he's named.
I prefer watching Justin Westhoff.
Going to be dragging his massive head around the forward 50. I'm going to tip, just because we're running out of time here, I'm going to tip Adelaide because I think they're better than Port.
Fantastic reason. I'm going to second you on that, Adelaide, because they're better than Port.
I think Port Adelaide will get up for the showdown. They always bring everything they've got for a showdown. But Surgeon and Port Play should be a good matchup. Both players in really good form, but you're going to have to tip Adelaide.
Tip Adelaide as well, but it will be close given it is a showdown.
Hawks GWS
We don't even have to talk about it. If the tab aren't offering odds on it, then it's pretty obvious. Hawthorn.
Yeah.
You sure? How many will Franklin kick?
900.
Yeah, Franklin will beat GWS by himself.
If he's accurate, that is.
Well, an interesting note, Tom Scully's been dropped.
He was injured. From what I hear, it was a groin injury.
Named as an emergency drop.
Yeah, he had too much masturbating.
He's not playing in the
over his
VFL.
performance
From what...
Oh, Jordan.
I hope Patton takes Gibson to the absolute cleaners. Can't wait.
And Cameron on Schoenmakers. That looks to be a very good matchup. But
like I said before, Tab Sportsbet not offering odds on this game because it is so one-sided, and we're going to move on to Gold Coast versus Geelong down at...
that's another one-sided game.
Up at Metricon Stadium, another one that is really probably going to be ugly.
Geelong.
Ablett versus Geelong.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any odds on this game either. Geelong.
Well, it's $17 to 101. Yeah, Geelong.
Yep, Geelong.
And the last game of the round, Sunday twilight, Fremantle take on the Western Bulldogs. Anyone?
If this was in Melbourne, there would be about 4,000 people there.
Exaggerating.
Probably.
Big exaggeration.
Jeez, I don't know. Is there anything exciting about this game at all?
Well, Fremantle can still make final. They're another team. A game.
I mean, Ballantyne's playing. That's kind of... interesting, I guess.
Perhaps in good form.
If Ballantyne goes to fight Dalhouse, then maybe I'll tune in.
Yeah, I could watch.
Pavlich on Lake will be fantastic. The Doggies' form's been shocking. You have to tip Freo at home.
Yeah. Freo easily.
God, looking at those matchups, there is just nothing that excites me. Is Lindsay Gilby back for the? Did he play last week, or is it the first game back after a really long absence? Back. Like round 18 last year, I think it was. So, welcome back, Lindsay. I'm gonna have to tip Freo over there because it's over there, and the Bulldogs are bad.
We just got a quick text in from Sean's side again. Trade Cozzy for a comfy couch or a washing machine.
It's worth that much.
They're more useful.
Second hand, both second hand.
Yeah. Maybe a bag of
Storm's side, mate. You're overselling him.
Yeah. But
I think good.
I think that just about wraps up the show this week. Any plugs? Sergeant Supercoach on Twitter. Very good Supercoach nut. Big Footy News and Bound for Glory.
We've had some delays with the Bound for Glory news service, but it will be up and running as soon as Captain Lazy over there gets off his ass and does something.
It's no, he's working very hard at it. It should be up relatively soon.
It'll be a fantastic service for all of you footy nuts out there, and we'll have plenty of contributors from the world of sports journalism, our world of sports journalism anyway. So that is going to do it for us here on this frosty Saturday morning. We will see you again next week with more of the AFL's news, reviews and games. Have a good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm invincible. I'm paying money. The girl's happy. She's got no money. I got my rocks off. Oh, how good is this?